You are now listening to the Highly Evolved Podcast with your host, Safan. Transmission will commence momentarily.
How are you guys doing? My name is Safan. This is the Highly Evolved Podcast. And yeah, I want to make this special video to commemorate what are we celebrating this week, which is Passover and Easter. For some reason, is coincidentally falling the same week, which is uncommon because most of the time, Easter and Passover fall under the different week. But I want to make this video to understand the concept of Easter and Passover. That in order to understand the celebration of Easter, we have to revert back to the past and why was it celebrated. And not too many people know about this, but it's basically all occultic meanings. Occultic meanings and hidden knowledge that not people understand. People practice Easter not knowing what the origin comes from, which is very pagan in itself. They want to associate it with the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but it's not what it seems to be. It's all occultic meanings, right? But in order to understand this, we must understand that Passover as well. Well, when you look at Passover, right? Passover, it goes according to the moon cycle, right? Of the Hebrew moon cycle, the first month on the Hebrew calendar, that is the month of Nicaea, right? Right. When you look at Easter, it should be celebrated the same time as Passover because Jesus Christ was crucified during the Passover, right? That's when he had his last meal, where people were celebrating by leavening bread and all that stuff, right? Now, when you determine Easter, how was it determined, right? Easter was determined by the Roman and the Council of Nicaea in what was that, 325 AD or something like that, right? By this account, by Jesus Christ crucified during Passover, right? Why isn't Easter celebrated at the same month as every Passover, right? Because the Easter is going by the Gregorian calendar, a different one, used by the Catholic Church, right? It does not have anything to do with Easter, right? But Easter was determined by the Roman of the Council of Nicaea, right? Easter should be celebrated when the first Sunday after the first fall of the moon during the spring equinox. That's according to the Roman Council, right? Which is March 21st. March 21st is the equinox, right? So first Sunday of the first full moon that comes after the equinox is how Easter should be determined. That's according to them. That's why when you look at the calendar, Easter and Passover are not always celebrated at the same time. One time Easter was celebrated in March and Passover was celebrated in April, right? And there's a huge discrepancy because when you revert back to the Bible, Jesus Christ died within Passover. So how is Easter celebrating a month before the Passover? Which is, there's a lot of discrepancy between that. All right? And when you look at the history of Easter, when you gotta look at way back into the Babylonian mystic school, right? We gotta look back at the Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, right? When you look at Nimrod, right, he's the father of Pagan, right? Also the sun god. Hebrew refer him as Baal, also known as Moloch, right? The follower associated with idolatry, worship, sacrifice, and other occultic practices. Nimrod's mother, wife was known as Semiramis. When Nimrod died, she became pregnant and found another way to stay in power. She told the people that the spirit of Nimrod impregnated her, right, and claimed that she is now the virgin birth of the spirit of Nimrod. She claimed that she slept with no man and told the people to worship her as your mother goddess because I am divinely created as well, right? When she said she's divinely created as well, that means she said she told him that she's from the moon, arrived in the egg that was launched into the Euphrates River. All right. So she's a moon goddess. That's what Semiramis is. She's a moon goddess. She's also known as the Queen of Madonna, Babylon, from the Babylonian, also known as Ishtar. All right, remember that word, Ishtar, also known as Semiramis. All right, she baby and born. Let me see this. Her baby was born as the god's son. All right, also named as Tammuz. That's her baby name. That's Nimrod. That's what's his name? Nimrod, baby, right? Or quote unquote that. She said that was his baby, right? His name was Tammuz, all right? AKA Nimrod's, also known as Nimrod baby, or also known as Nimrod's back from the dead. That's how they know, that's how they associate with that Nimrod is resurrected because she gave birth to it. But in actuality, people don't know where she getting the son from. She was known as a whore of Babylonian, right? That was her nickname. And I got all these notes, right? Tammuz was killed by a boar, right? All this is going to play it out at the end when I finish all this stuff. Tammuz was killed by a boar. The original pagan festival of Easter was a sex orgy that was celebrated in the return of his life via fertility of Semiramis, a.k.a. Ishtar, the conception of Tammuz. That's where the true meaning or the Babylonian mystery of Easter come from. The worshipper of the ancient Babylonian religion celebrated the concept, not the birth by concept. On the first Sunday after the full moon that follows by the spring equinox, they celebrated by engaging in sex orgy, prostitution in the temple of Ishtar. Women were required to have sex with anybody who walked into the temple, and the baby was used as sacrificial lamb, right? Right, and then it goes on. The baby was used as sacrifice in honor of the pagan gods, and the blood was consumed by the worshippers. Right, the priests of Easter would sacrifice infant human babies and take a fertile egg, like a duck egg or chicken egg, right? Take a fertile egg and dip it in the sacrificed baby blood, right? Ishtar is a symbol of fertility, and this is the tradition. This is how the tradition of colored eggs come from, all right? By dipping eggs into a sacrificed baby blood. All right, so this is why we have the tradition of Easter eggs, Esther eggs, right? And then it goes on, the egg would hatch on December 25th, 9 months later, 9 months from the day that baby was sacrificed, right? This is where the concept of resurrection comes from. The same day that the son of Tammuz was born, right? When Tammuz was killed by a boar, Semiramis proclaimed that today, the day of her son was killed, that people should have 40 days of mourning. This is where the concept of Lent comes from. 40 days of mourning and sorrow, hence the Ash Wednesday and Lent. She proclaimed no meat shall be eaten within those 40 days, representing Tammuz, right? And representing Tammuz, right? After 40 days, they celebrate, right? And every year after the first moon, after the first spring of equinox, the celebrated were made. It was Ishtar Sunday, and celebrated with rabbits, eggs, and because of Tammuz was killed by a pig, that pig must be eaten on the Sunday, and therefore the concept of Easter ham, right? Now this is very contradictory, right? When you look at the Bible, God told people not to eat pork or anything of that nature, right? Now, if God told you not to eat pork, crustacean, and all this stuff, why would you eat ham? Wouldn't that defeat the purpose of what God said, defiling him, not listening to him? Why would you eat ham during Easter if you're a Christian, right? When God told you not to eat it. There's a lot of contradictory in this, right? Like, that's why when I see people celebrate Easter, they're eating Easter ham, like, the Bible told you not to eat any pork, right? have you ever asked yourself the concept where do the tradition of ham come from, right? And then when you look back at Ash Wednesday, the Catholic Church, right, put a T on their head, right? The T is also a symbolism of Tammuz. The T for Tammuz, not necessarily mean for the cross of Jesus Christ, the sacrificial cross. It's mainly referring to they want to tell you that, but the Catholic Church, there's a lot of corruption that they don't tell people, all right? And let's continue. During this time, it was before can't read my own. The tradition of the Easter, also known as Babylonian, right? Because during this time, when Nimrod was Nimrod and the Semiramis incident happened, it was way before the incident of Jesus Christ born, Joseph and Mary. It was way before that, right? So they misconstrued that with the Joseph and Mary, because what the Catholic did was, with the story of Joseph and Mary, they put it under the category of Semiramis and Nimrod, right? The reason why they do that is to attract more followers, right? To attract the heathens, and that's what their goal is, to get more people into the church. That's why they use the concept of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus Christ, all right? To soften the blow, let's say that, all right? Semiramis is also known as the Whore of Babylon, referring to the Revelation 17, right? Semiramis is also known as the Old Testament as Ashtaroth, according to Judges 10:6-7 and 1 King 11:5-6. This is the commemoration of the concept of reborning the sun god, Tammuz, right? Born on December 25th. The Romans were pagan before the The Romans were pagan. You gotta remember that. Romans, they were pagan before the conversion of Jesus and Mary, right? They just replaced with Yahweh with the Father God, Mary with the Mother God, and Jesus with the Son God. Like I mentioned earlier, they just replaced the name. Easter is a pagan holiday, all right, guys? Easter is a pagan holiday, according to the Catholic Church. That's why Easter was celebrated. It was celebrating, it's a big sex orgy, right? That's why that's why the Catholic Church are infamously known to associate themselves with pedophilia, boy rape, and all that stuff, right? This is where it comes from. It's stemmed from traditions. Easter is supposed to be celebrated as a resurrection and reconcept, but not of Yahshua and Hamashiach, but by the pagan god Tammuz. That's what it is. It's celebrating of the pagan god Tammuz. The only reason we recognize the day is because of the infiltration of the Roman Catholic. That's the only reason why Easter was celebrated, right? The Roman Catholic had the practice of incorporating pagan festival by placing Christian names over them and call them Christianity, right? This was done to make Christianity more acceptable to heathen worshiper, whom the church is trying to attract, right? The complete ignore of the scripture from Deuteronomy 12:29-32. So basically, when you look at Easter, it's basically a pagan holiday celebrating Esther, right? Or Semiramis. That's what the name Easter comes from, because of her her other name is Esther, the Temple of Esther, right? And because of different dialect, it could also misconstrued as Easter, right? And the concept of the Easter egg is basically the concept of dipping eggs, because Semiramis, also known as the god of fertility, right? And she also known as the person who's from the moon, who crashed into the Euphrates River in an egg, right? That's what all concept of egg come from, right? Because of that, what she told them that she came in an egg, they used the egg and the egg and dipped it in blood, right? And then 9 months later, the egg rehatches. And then that's the tradition of coloring eggs, right? It's basically paganism, All right, there's with the celebration of Easter right now. They say it's a commercialism. Yeah, it's a commercialism as well. But when you dig deep down inside it, it's also known as also have some kind of connection to Babylonian mystery school, right? Which not a lot of people know much about them because it's pagan. That's what it is. And let me show you something. It's also referring to this. Let's see. Right? This is a chart of all pagan things. They all have something in similar, right? The sun god, father god in Babylonian is called Nimrod. The moon goddess or the mother god in Babylonian is called Semiramis. And the reborning of the sun god, right, also known as Tammuz. And when it comes to Egypt, Egypt is also pagan, right? The sun god, father god is known as Ra. The moon god, the mother god is known as Isis. And the reborn of the sun god is named Horus, right? Now going back to the Greek, the sun father god is known as Zeus. The moon god, mother god, known as Artemis. The sun god is Adonis, right? Now going back to Rome, right? The father god is Jupiter. The mother god is Diana. The sun god is Apollo. Now Nordic, right? The sun god is Odin. The moon god is Jorod. And the sun god is Thor. Now to go into Luciferian is Lucifer. The mother god is goddess Diana, and reborn the sun god is the Antichrist. All right. Now Roman Catholic. All right. The sun god is God. The moon god is the Virgin Mary, and the sun god is Jesus. Right. So basically, Roman is nothing to have to do with God at all. They're just replacing the name, like I mentioned earlier. Right. It's all paganism. What all these Roman, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Nordic, Luciferian all have in common. All right? It's all sun god, mother god worshiping. Right? And Christianity, the Roman Catholic, why is the Roman Catholic using God, Virgin Mary? Is because they try to attract new followers. That's why they replaced the name. Before they were. Now, when you look at Roman Catholic, you want to replace the God when they say sun god with Nimrod, the mother god. You replace Virgin Mary with Semiramis, and the reborn of sun god with Tammuz. All right. But yeah. The way I explain things is just to shed some light into the following, all right? To let you guys know what are some of the hidden meaning of it. But if you guys look into further information, there's a lot of things that's not aligned, right? Like, why are Jesus Christ died during Passover. Why is Easter sometimes celebrated a month before that? It doesn't make any sense. Why does it keep changing? Why doesn't it correlate with the Hebrew Passover? Because Passover is technically the day where Jesus Christ was crucified, right? Within that same period of time. But yeah, there's a lot of hidden knowledge out there, guys. But it's not too people know about this, and people need to question their following. If you go to a church, that's why I don't go to church, right? There's nothing in the Bible say you have to go to church, right? This is why I don't go to church. I believe in God, but I don't go to church because if you and the follower, the leader of your church, right, are practicing this kind of traditions, you need to question your church leader. Like, why are you practicing this, right? According to the Bible, we're not supposed to do none of this stuff, right? According to the Bible, we're not supposed to eat pork. Why are you advocating people eat pork? Why are you advocating people to have Easter egg hunt? Why are you advocating people to affiliate yourself with these pagan traditions? All right? People need to question that. All right? But I'm bringing you like scriptures, verse, and all this stuff to find all this stuff. Don't just take my word for it. You have to research it for yourself. Right now, it's very broad. I could go into way more detail, but I just don't have the time. It's a time restraint. I'm sure you guys don't want to listen to an hour of me explain all this stuff. But it's just giving you the brief concept of where this concept come from. All right, the Easter egg come from the dying of eggs from chicken and ducks fertilized eggs into the sacrificed baby blood, right? That's what it is. They sacrifice baby blood in the sex orgy that these pagan worshippers are having to celebrate the goddess Ishtar, right, which is known as the whore of Babylon. It's according to the Bible. Don't just take this up. It's in there, all right? But yeah, it's very pagan. And then it's practiced by the Roman. The reason why they want to use it is because they want to practice their same tradition but under a different name. That's why, back in the Roman Church. And it's also go back to the Gregorian calendar. Why all of a sudden we had to switch, Pope Gregory had to switch the calendar, the Julius calendar, to the Gregorian calendar. Why is that? See? The day, like I mentioned earlier, the day right now isn't really the day at all because we switched different calendars. So who's to say that today is actually 2019? All right, you can't say that because we're going to the Gregorian calendar. There's a lot of meaning why we switched to those days. All right, we're supposed to go towards the moon cycles and all this stuff, but suddenly we fall onto this traditional calendars. People never questioned the calendars before, right? Never questioned the calendar. Why do we have 12 months in the calendar, right? Why is the last 3 months end with BER? Okay, why is the name of the month name of that, right? People need to question these stuff. Like, you have to deep down in history. It's all hidden knowledge. It's all occultic knowledge, right? But this is the episode. I just want to focus on the Easter. That Easter is really a pagan holiday. The name Easter comes from the fertility god in Babylon mystical school named Semiramis, also known as Esther. And because her name is Esther, that's how the name Easter caught on, because according to different people's dialect, right? But yeah, let me know you agree. Since today's Easter, I don't know, you celebrate Easter? Let me know your comment. Did you celebrate it? Did you question the belief? Do you subscribe to it? All right. Do you think it's wrong? You think it's contradictory for us to eat Easter ham when the Bible told us not to eat any pork products? All right. And I don't know if I mentioned this. The reason why we eat ham is because Tammuz was attacked by a boar. All right, Tammuz was attacked by a boar, and Semiramis wanted to eat ham to commemorate his death. That he was killed by a boar. That's why we eat ham, and it's blasphemy for us to eat ham. All right, the Bible told us ham is not a clean meat. Pork is not a clean meat because they eat all kind of junk. I don't eat pork. I used to, but after my new discovery, I don't eat any pork no more. I stopped eating pork. I stopped eating shellfish. I stopped eating shrimp. I stopped eating bottom feeders. It's not good for you guys, because the toxic will transfer back into you. But and I see people eating all these lobsters, crawfish. Like, that's not good for you. They're bottom feeders, and they eat all kind of junk in the ocean or whatever it is, and they try to make it as the luxury food. Like, question what you're eating, because a lot of ailments come from these kind of foods. They're not clean at all. But all this stuff, and that's the reason why we have cross buns, right? What, in Easter they're supposed to eat cross bun with ham and all this stuff. All right, that's where all the tradition comes from. You gotta question yourself. Why is this, that? And you gotta deep down into the Bible, deep down in history. Not the thing about the Bible is very unique, is that the Bible is not only a book of contents, it's also a history book. It's also a book where the reason back in days why people read, right, is because they read to understand how to read the Bible. That's why back in days it was so desirable to read, because they want to read the Bible. That's what it is. And that's why people practice reading. All right, so they know what they're reading in the Bible, because not too many people back in a long time ago, people reading is a privilege, right? Not too many people can afford to be taught how to read texts. All right. But let me know you agree. Let me know you agree. Do you celebrate Easter? Do you subscribe to it, or you don't celebrate it? All right. Did you go to church? All right. Today's Easter and Passover, which is a rare thing that happens, right? And let me know you agree. And if you like what I'm doing, you want support, you can find me on social media. Twitter and get.ai, or subscribe because I'm not monetized. I'm doing this because I want to notify people. I want people to be aware of what they're doing. All right, you can hit the subscribe button. And because I'm not monetized, I'm unscripted, unedited, and unrehearsed. That's why I'm all mumbling. And it's hard to follow me. I'm sure most of you guys find my video hard to follow, but if you guys are able to understand what I'm saying, that's the only thing that matters. If I convey my thought clearly enough, that's the only thing that matters. If I stumble and mumble, I don't really mind about that. All right, but on that note, guys, thank you for listening to this podcast, and I'll see you guys in the next broadcast. Thank you, and have a good day. Peace.